Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've picked up a few new products in the last week or so, and I wanted to put together a quick video just to show you a few new things I've been playing around with, and I don't want to waste a lot of time, so I'm gonna jump right in. So first up, we've got this new foundation from MAC. This is the Studio Fix Soft Matte Foundation Stick. This is, I think, maybe the first foundation stick I've ever tried. Now, I need another foundation, like I need a goddamn hole in the head, but there were a few things that made me interested to try this foundation. First of all, the claim that it was buildable to medium coverage and it lasted 24 hours. So I like the idea that it was going to be more of like a sheer coverage that you could build to medium. And the older I get, the more I just prefer a very natural light coverage. So that already spoke to me. 24-hour staying power, that sounded great. Although who's wearing their foundation for 24 hours? I'm certainly not, but I'm definitely looking for something that's going to last for like 16 hours. And then I started seeing reviews where people were trying it out and they were saying that it was definitely a drier consistency and they thought that it might work a little bit better for an oily skin type. So I was like, I want to try this. So I went into the MAC store, I applied it, I tried it on, and I actually went in with all of my regular products that I normally use, and I tried it on with everything right there in store. And if you follow me on Instagram, I already did an all-day wear test wearing that foundation for the very first time that I tried it. By the end of it, I think I wore it for 11 hours. And I just did one layer with a brush. I didn't build it up. I didn't go in with a second layer. I set everything the way that I normally would set down my makeup with my regular powders and highlighter and contour and blush and all of that kind of stuff. And I just kind of buffed it on with the Morphe M439. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, then you already saw how it wore throughout the day on my oily skin. By the end of the day, my skin was very, very shiny, like incredibly oily. In fact, it started to get oily only about 3 or 4 hours in. It didn't ever break down, but it definitely was like very, very shiny. It needed to be touched up. But at that point, it had already been on for 11 hours, so I just washed it off. And then the next day, I thought I would just kind of change up my application method a little bit. So what I did on the second day is I actually applied quite a bit more of the stick to my face. I went in with the same brush, but instead of buffing it into the skin, I went in and I kind of like stippled it all over the skin. And then to add just a little bit more coverage to the center of the face where I felt like I still just saw quite a bit of redness, I added a second layer with a damp beauty blender, and I actually just kind of took the stick and wiped it on the end of the blender and just kind of like pounced that onto the center of my face. And while it did look really good upon initial application and after I set everything in place with powder and all that stuff, it was the first time in a long time that at maybe the halfway point during my day, I had to go back in and touch back up with powder. I haven't had to do that with any foundation in so long on my face, and this foundation definitely needed to be touched up only maybe at the 6-7 hour mark. And even touching up and setting everything back into place like that, it didn't make it look good for the next several hours. It was only like maybe 2 hours after that I looked in the mirror and it looked really shiny again. It looked really thick. And I don't know, I felt like maybe I had just overdone it on that second day. Maybe I had used too much product. And the thing was, it didn't break down at all. Everything was still in place. Everything still had the same amount of coverage. It was really, really shiny and it just looked really, really makeup-y by the end of the day. So I was really kind of on the fence about it at the end of that second day because I'm like, do I like this foundation? Do I not like this foundation? I feel like I really needed to kind of find that sweet spot, like the perfect amount of the product and then the perfect application method. And what I did today was I went in with kind of the same amount that I had used on the first day, where it was like not overdone, a few swipes on the forehead, a few swipes on the cheek, a little bit down on the chin, a little bit down on the neck, but not completely filling in my entire face and then blending it out, but just a little bit here and there, and then went in and stippled with that same Morphe brush. And once I got all of that blended out and felt like I just needed a little bit more coverage on my nose, in the center of my face, I went in with just another few quick swipes, nothing crazy, not a lot of product, and I stippled in again with that brush, kind of got that to the place that I wanted it, and then I went in with a dry beauty blender and really just kind of like softly patted in on my nose and on any of those areas that seem to take a little bit blotchy to foundation, because I feel like the nose is one of those areas that does that, along with the chin, in between the eyebrows, I feel like can do that on a lot of people. So really just kind of like patting it in and softening it up with a dry beauty blender. Although you could use a wet beauty blender if you wanted to, but I didn't want to take away any of the foundation that was there. I was happy with the amount of product that was on my face. I really wanted to just kind of smooth it out a little bit. And I did get some up close pictures between every step. So I'm going to go ahead and insert those so you can see close up shots of my face after one application, after that second layer, and then blend it out with the beauty blender. And then I also want to get in there really close now so you can see how everything looks after it's been set. This has probably been on my face for about a half an hour at this point. Now I'm probably not going to film check-ins or anything like that with this foundation on today, but what I will do is if I feel like I have this foundation on for long enough to update you on how it lasted today, I'll go ahead and leave that down in the description box and kind of update you guys down there. But the claims that this is 24-hour wear is total fucking bullshit. There's no way. Again, I've worn this 2 days for about 11, 12 hours each day. And in both cases, if I had touched my face, it would have slid right off. Now, I'm the kind of person that after I get my makeup on, I do not touch my face. I do not like lean on my hands like this. I don't rub my nose. I don't blow my nose once I have makeup on. Once the makeup is on and once it's set into place, the next time I touch my face at all is to remove my makeup at the end of the night. Like, I don't fuck around. And again, it never broke down, but so much oil ended up coming through it so quickly that there's no way in hell it would have lasted for 24 hours. So that claim, I think, is just ridiculous. I think that we're at this point where they want to just kind of put 24-hour wear on everything. But again, it's like, who the hell's wearing foundation for 24 hours? Like, nobody. But do I like this foundation? Yeah, it's quick, it's easy, it looks really nice on the skin. And for me, if I have somewhere to go where I need my makeup to last for maybe like 5-6 hours, I think this is a foundation that I'm really gonna like for a situation like that. But for all day wear, for a work day when I'm gonna have a busy day, I'm not gonna have time to touch up, I wouldn't trust this, because again, halfway through the day, I'm already like a total oil slick, you know? This is not something I'm gonna reach for if I want longevity in my makeup, but I do like it. But that's foundation, that's what I have on today, and I used it right alongside all the other stuff that I always use. If you've seen any of my recent full face makeup routines, everything that I used in those videos is what I used on my face today. But something else that I just got in the mail the other day are a few more of these palettes from Adept Cosmetics. In my Q&A video, I showed you this one that I had gotten from Adept. This one houses, I want to say, close to 80 or maybe over 80 standard size eyeshadows. It's a really sturdy, really affordable palette. So they also sell these multi-folding palettes, and these are basically like 2 extra large Z palettes all in one. And they come in 2 colors. This one is called Lion. It's described as a rich amber. And then they have a gray one that they call Magnetar. And I've actually already started building the Magnetar palette, and this one is going to be more like my everyday face palette. So when I flip this open, it's got some setting powders and a highlighter over here. And then when I flip up, now the magnet is no joke on these. It is pretty strong. When I flip this up, then I've got all of my kind of like everyday contouring, highlighting powders. I've got a concealer up here in the corner, some blushes over here. But again, this is kind of like an everyday palette, and it does have a mirror in there as well. So that is pretty convenient. And what's crazy about these palettes is you're getting really sturdy, really good quality palettes that hold 70 eyeshadows with a mirror, and they're only $21. Like, that's a fucking steal. I'll go ahead and link all of the information for Adept down below in the description bar if you want to check out any of their palettes. And they're also going to be coming out with eyeshadows this month too, so check those out. And you know this wouldn't be one of my videos without some eyeshadow. And in my last video, I was kind of bitching about how brands don't really do Halloween. They skip straight to Christmas. And overall, I still stand by that. But of course, as soon as I posted that video, then I started seeing all of these like Halloween releases come out. I totally forgot all about how Wet n Wild usually does do some Halloween stuff. And they did. Now, as far as all the eyeshadow palettes that they had for Halloween, the only thing that really spoke to me was this one called Coffin Break. But this is the one that definitely looked really fall inspired to me. And you guys know I love warm browns and neutrals. This one has some oranges and golds and stuff like that in it. So this is the one I ended up picking up. They did have one that was more like blue and green, and then they had one that was almost more like a cooler tone smoky palette. And I knew that I was never gonna use those, but I knew that I would put this one on my eyeballs right away. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into this one today for the eye look. Okay, and these Wet n Wild eyeshadows never really have names, so I'm gonna take a R39 by Morphe and dip into this transition shade up here, and we'll pop that into the crease, blend that out for our transition. I don't think I've used any Wet n Wild eyeshadows since I bought some and used them on my channel probably almost 2 years ago. I think it's crazy how Wet n Wild has become one of those brands that people actually really like their eyeshadow formula, because I remember when I was a kid and I was wearing drugstore makeup, even then Wet n Wild was kind of a joke because it was like, you know, it was like $1 for every item and none of it really worked all that well. And here we are 20 years later and they're like a really popular brand that has some really decent products. So I don't know why I don't reach for, I mean, they do have a few things that I reach for quite a bit, but overall, they're still not like a huge go-to brand for me, so. And now everybody's kind of pissed off at Wet n Wild because of the whole, you know, being sold in China thing and them, you know, supposedly being cruelty-free and all that. And for me, I don't really have a stance on the whole cruelty-free makeup thing. It's like, I eat meat, I wear leather, so I can't really bitch and complain if a brand is, you know, is or isn't cruelty-free. Because if you're still eating animals and if you're still wearing animals, then you can't really bitch at makeup companies if they're testing on animals. You can't. And just like all the other Wet n Wild shadows I've tried in the past few years, these ones seem to be really pigmented and they really seem to be blending out very easily. There's no patchiness, there's nothing skipping. I didn't set my base with a powder or anything like that, so this is just kind of going on over top of foundation and a little bit of concealer on my eyelid that again hasn't been set, so that seems to be performing pretty well. And you know we're gonna smoke out that under eye as well. This is a really good color and this is a really good formula. This one is going on really easy. It's blending out super quickly. This is taking like no time at all. I'm gonna go ahead and dip into this like brick red shade right here, and we'll see how that applies and how that blends in with that transition. It's really crazy to find a matte formula that performs this well for such a low price. This is really decent quality eyeshadow for $8. That same shade on an M507 and just kind of blowing that out but keeping it a little bit tighter to the actual lash line down here. I want this to look a little bit dark and grungy, a little bit spooky looking, because again, this is like a Halloween collection here. So I want something a little bit darker than what this brown is giving me, but I don't really want to go in just with black. So I think I'm gonna kind of mix the two together on my brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and deepen up my crease with that concoction. And I think shades like these are a really good test to see if a formula is crap or not. I don't know how it's picking up on camera because sometimes the camera can show things to be a little bit patchier than they are in real life. But in real life, that actually looks really decent. And the same thing over here, just kind of build up some extra depth and darkness right there in the crease. It went really quick on the other eye. I'm really liking this a lot, actually. And then on this little Morphe smudger brush, this is an M213. I'm gonna dip into that same little cocktail, that brown and that black. And I'm gonna press that right into the lower lash line. You know, I always use a pencil brush for the under eye like this, but I actually prefer this brush. I feel like it's just got a little bit more precision to it, so I can really get up there into the lash line. And I feel like sometimes with a pencil brush, it'll just kind of like explode shadow all over if I'm not really careful about it. I don't know if it's like the bullet kind of shape to it versus where this one is like really thin if you turn it the one way. I don't know what it is, but I think that I like this better. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna try out a couple of these shimmery shades. This one down here looks more like a dark kind of taupe color. I'm gonna rub around in that with my finger and take a look. Yeah, that's just kind of like a nice taupe shade. We'll see if that comes off onto my lid at all. Yeah, decent, not too bad. And I don't have like a sticky base or anything on either. I just have that concealer that I had laid down on my lid. So over top of a glitter primer or something like that, these shimmery shades probably will work a little bit better. But I didn't really need a taupe to pop on the outer side of my eye either. So going ahead and just laying this down with the finger over top of just whatever I already had on there is totally fine for me, so. And I'm not even gonna wipe off my finger because if I mix these two shades together, that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go into this more kind of bronzy tone here. And I'm gonna go right into the center of the lid and kind of blend that into that first taupey shade that I laid down. And we'll see what that's looking like. Yeah, and I would say applying this over top of a concealer with a finger, I'm not really getting a lot of the shimmer that it looks like in the pan. It's kind of going on a little bit more of a satin finish rather than like a real shimmery finish. That is very shimmery on my fingertip though. Okay, so I do want to go like a little bit pumpkin-y and a little bit more Halloween-y. So I'm gonna go into this kind of macaroni and cheese kind of tone here. This is an M421 by Morphe, and that one looks like it picks up pretty decently on the brush. We'll see how well this transfers from the brush onto the lid though. And brow bone is starting to get a little droopy. I think it might be close to time for some Botox. It's starting to get a little wrinkly in the forehead there too, so. I feel like this color here could build up really nicely, actually. This one almost has like a creamy kind of consistency to it, even though it's more like a satin formula. And then I'm gonna go into this really shimmery orange kind of color here on a pencil brush. And I'm gonna pop that one right here on the underneath side because I just want to bring a little bit of brightness to that area right there. And then the last shade that I'm going to use out of this palette for an inner corner highlight is this shade right here, which it almost looks like it could be like an orange-green shift. That looks really cool, actually. Let me swatch that and see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that looks good. It is. It's like an orange, but it's a green at the same time, and it's like really light in tone, so that's a really fun one. And I'm actually going to wet a pencil brush with this setting spray here, just so we can get as much intensity as possible out of that shade. Ah, fuck yeah, that's a cool color. I like that one a lot. That shade right there is definitely worth the price of the whole palette. I really like this palette. I think that's a really cool color story, and I really like this eye look. There is a shit ton of fallout, as you can see. So let me go ahead and get that swept away. I'll get some mascara on and some liner on my waterline, and then I'll be right back because I've got one more product to show you guys. All right, mascara's on, this on the top, this on the bottom. And then as far as waterline eyeliner goes, I use the Coffee Eye Pencil by MAC. You know, this is one of my favorites. And I thought it would go really well with the stuff that I have on my eyes today. So I've got one last product, and this is actually something else from Wet n Wild. Now, I don't know how many products Wet n Wild is coming out with for Halloween because I really didn't look into it. But when I was at CVS, it seemed like they had 3 different displays of Halloween for Wet n Wild. And this was on one of them. This is their Megalast Liquid Catsuit High Shine Lipstick. Now, I was actually really excited that this is one of their High Shine lipsticks because I've actually never tried that formula. And I'm just not a fan of a matte lip. You guys know that. But when I saw that this was one of the High Shine lipsticks and I've never used this before, I was pretty pumped. This one is called Jack-O-Lantern's Blood. It's limited edition. And I picked this one up because the color just looked really cool. It's like this peachy pink with a gold reflect to it. So let's get this out of the tube and onto my lips. It's not sticky, it's not glossy. It definitely doesn't have a lip gloss kind of feel to it. It definitely is more like a lipstick feel. So yeah, definitely high shine lipstick is what I would call this for sure. It feels really comfortable on. It definitely has like that stripper kind of vibe to it as far as the color goes on the lips. On its own, it might be a bit much for most people, but again, use a liner or use a regular lipstick or like a matte liquid lip and then throw this over top of just like the center. And this is a really cool pop of color. I would wear it on its own, but I mean, fucking look at me, you know, I don't mind it. I actually really love this color. I might go pick up a few more of these. And actually, I might go pick up another one of these just for this shimmery color that I put on the inner corner here. I really like this one a lot. But as far as everything else goes, just a quick recap. The foundation stick by MAC, I'm on the fence. I like it, and I like it for like short wear. I like it if you are going to be going to a daytime event. Maybe you're going to be out of the house for like 5-6 hours. You want to have some makeup on. You want something that's going to be like that light to medium buildable coverage. Something that does really look pretty on the skin. But it's not going to last a long time. I'm sorry, it's not going to last 24 hours. It's just not going to happen. But I still do really like it. I think it looks really good on the skin. The palettes from Adept, they're $21. They hold 70 shadows and they have a mirror. Holy fucking shit, get on that. And what else? Was that it? This lip, I like that. I like the eyeshadows. I like the palettes. Foundation's okay. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.